Good evening, this is Corporal Cortella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. On the blue side, we have Floid as the tunneling Ravener Alpha. I can't even look at him right now because he's in a tunnel. We also have, on the other side, red, we have Jomanix as the red Chaos Lord. He's the red team, he's got a red Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord, very powerful, has this big-ass demon sword, which is actually not that powerful. But he does both range damage and melee damage, and gets some pretty ridiculous upgrades, and is possibly the best commander in the game, and certainly one of the best. The Ravener Alpha is now out of the tunnel. Ravener does both pretty good melee and range damage, although he's more of... doesn't really specialize in either one, I'd say. If he does specialize in one, it's more ranged. He's more used for just the... obviously the tunneling, and he's got some other interesting abilities too. Alright, Chaos Lord deciding to capture the point. He can do this. He can just tank the damage. I think he actually should have just captured the point. Just get that point. He's not going to take a whole lot of damage from these termagants because they have very little health at the moment. Sorry, they don't have very little health, but they do very little range damage because they do not have the Toxin Sax upgrade yet, and the Chaos Lord just walks on top of the tunnel. But he is giving up the map control that he could have gotten by capturing that point to chase down termagants. On the good side of things, that means he does get to bleed these termagants. And if he really wants to bleed them, he should get the Combi Flamer upgrade. And now he needs to go. Wasted the kill of the week because Floid was actually microing. We have Spore Mines right here. So Floid does go for the standard Tyranid build, which is starting Hormigaunt Brood into the 2 termagants, and he also gets Spore Mines. That's also part of a starting build that he likes to do. Jomanix goes for, he has his Chaos Lord, he has his starting Heretics, Chaos Space Marines, and another Heretic Squad. Also a very common build for Chaos Space Marines. Usually your starting build for them will either be 2 Chaos Space Marines or 1 Chaos Space Marine and another Heretic Squad. Still waiting for the Toxin Sax on these termagants, but I guess it's still too early in the game. Oh, just kidding. One squad already upgraded, and the other one is getting it. Really, pretty much a no-brainer upgrade for your termagants. And I think it's especially a good idea for Floid to get Spore Mines at the beginning on this map, just because this is a map that actually has buildings. A lot of maps in Dawn of War 2 don't have buildings, and it's not as big a part of the game as, say, Company of Heroes. But this is a map where there are buildings, and Tyranids generally struggle against that. They either need to get a Barb Strangler Warrior or Spore Mines, pretty much. Some later things that can help out, maybe Bioplasma from the Hive Tyrant, but Floid is not playing as the Hive Tyrant. Floid is winning on the map control. He's getting the contested power node over here. He already noded up this contested power. And he has 2 victory points. So Jomanix coming in now. He does have his 4th unit, which are some Chaos Raptors, which will definitely hard counter the termagants. I think Chaos Raptors are a pretty good unit overall. They don't quite have the versatility of Assault Space Marines, and they're not as good as them in general, but they still hard counter any range squad and any setup team. So they're still pretty good to get. Obviously, 1 termagant squad went down. I did not even see it happening. I think it happened off screen. But these Chaos Raptors basically just jumping into these termagants and definitely hard countering them, taking out 4 models. The Chaos Raptors, not as good to get against, say, the Hive Tyrant, but against the Lictor Alpha, I think they'll do just fine. I mean, not against the Lictor Alpha, the Ravener Alpha, they will do just fine. So Floid loses a Hormigaunt Brood, a Termagant Brood. Pretty early loss from him, but he is getting a Warrior Brood. Warriors, again, pretty standard build for Tyranids these days. We have another tunnel over here. So Jomanix did win that engagement, courtesy of his Chaos Raptors hard countering the Termagants. And then it's basically just the Hormigants left, and Hormigants are definitely going to get countered by the Chaos Lord or Heretics. Although as good as these Raptors are, they do need to go. They did lose a model, which is not very good. You should try your best not to lose models with pretty much any power armor squad, especially in Tier 1 when you kind of don't have to, just because you don't have as much pure damage, certainly not as much range damage. And now this is really bad because they probably will lose a model here. They lose 2 models. Worship from the Heretics allows these Chaos Space Marines to speed up. Now the Heretics need to stop worshiping. And they Doom Blast, kind of, I think they should have gotten closer for that Doom Blast, because it didn't do much, if any, damage. Only suppressed one of those squads. And now they have Hormagaunts and Warriors on them, and they're getting torn apart. They do pull off a Doom Blast. Doom Blast is such a good ability. And this Chaos Lord will definitely go down right there. So Jomanix overextending his Chaos Lord. Went for a Kill the Weak, but Kill the Weak, not as good against good players as it is against bad players. But it is still good against good players. Good players will usually dodge it most of the time. But it's still good in the sense of the way it threatens your opponent. Because as long as you have Kill the Weak and it's not on cooldown, your opponent can't swarm the Chaos Lord, or the Chaos Lord will practically heal to full. And these Raptors are back out on the field, hard countering both the Termagants and probably countering, but not hard countering, the Ravener Alpha. They are going for the Ravener Alpha now, though. And they will have enough energy for a second jump, which they do use. But now they do need to get out of there, as this Warrior Brood will come at them. And they're at half health. So far, I'd say it's been pretty even, kind of trading victory points, trading resource points. We did have an early loss from Floid with his Termagant Brood, but he did seem to recover from that. He's even winning on the resources, and he even replaced his Termagant Brood. At least that's what it says, although when I click on the Termagant Brood, I'm being taken to the Chaos Raptors. But we do have two Termagants over here. Tyranids can recover from losses a little more easily than Chaos. They do have a stronger economy. And I think Floid even has the higher requisition income, despite having fewer requisition points. Actually, I lied. Alright, too hard to count requisition points. Let's just watch the fighting. Chaos Lord going to walk over that tunnel. And whoever was inside the tunnel did not get to go out. But this is too much, a little too much even for a Chaos Lord. Just a whole Tyranid army. Floyd already more than halfway to Tier 2. Jomanix needs to start Tier 2. He has the resources. He should start doing it now. Anyway. Not as many exciting things happening right now. Just some capping, but it looks like we're going to have a Chaos Offensive going down from here. Right now, I think, with this build, I think Jomanix is a little bit favored. He does have the Raptors, which I think is kind of what's giving him the advantage. The Raptors would not be as good if Floyd were playing as the Hive Tyrant, or even the Lictor Alpha. But right now, with only the Ravener Alpha there, the only counters that there are to the Raptors are the Warrior Brood, the Termagants, well, the Warrior Brood and the Hormagaunts mainly, in melee. The Termagants can use Crippling Poison on them, but still don't really counter them. Well, Crippling Poison is certainly very good against any melee unit, but then the Raptors can just jump. Raptors, they have the Aspiring Champion queued up. I'm actually not sure if that's such a great upgrade, especially against Tyranids, who, well, they do have the Warrior Brood, which has heavy infantry armor. The Aspiring Champion does have a Lightning Claw, which does power melee. But I've been personally finding that the Aspiring Champion is not that helpful on the Chaos Raptors, at least not until Tier 3 when you can get the Demon Maul. Without it, it's just another man, and I feel like that those resources could be better spent elsewhere. On the other side of things, right now, the Chaos Raptors are one of the best assets that Jomanix has. They are hard countering the Termagants, and they will also threaten this Zoanthrope. So it might be a good idea to make them more durable. We also now have Adrenal Glands on this Warrior Brood that is going to lessen the threat of the Raptors, because both the Hormagaunts and the Genesteal and the Warriors will be a lot tougher, doing a lot more damage. Well, not a lot more damage, but just being a lot tougher. Something in here, the Chaos Lord, again, getting dangerously close to death. But I still think he should get that Combi Flamer, and he should definitely get the Armor of the Inferno. Floyd is walking around with big Tyranid blobs of Termagants and Hormagaunts, and an Armor of the Inferno with Let the Galaxy Burn could easily force off both Termagant squads and the Hormagaunts, and then leave the Warrior and the Zoanthrope unsupported. Chaos Heretics going for a Generator Bash, but they really can't take more than one shot from the Zoanthrope. Zoanthrope, a really good unit, psychic artillery that you can't really hear coming, unlike Devastator Plasmas or the Noise Marine Sonic Blaster, which you can hear the windup and then you know that a shot is coming. This Zoanthrope, you just get hit by it and you lose like more than half of your heretics. Victory points have gone in Floyd's favor, even though he doesn't have his natural victory point, but he is getting that back now. This has not been the most exciting game so far. Maybe we're going to see some bigger fights now that both sides are getting more destructive units. Jomanix goes for a heavy melee build. Not heavy melee like the damage type, but just a lot of melee units. He obviously has both of his heretics with aspiring champions, and still kept his melee. Corrin Space Marines, which are an extremely good unit. Bloodletters, which are also very good. They've had their health increased from 1,000 to 1,200, making them a lot tougher. And I think this is actually going to favor Jomanix. Oh, Bloodletters teleporting right into the Termagants. They will have to get out there. Bloodletters do a ton of damage. And what we could also get from here is a full power bash from Jomanix. As long as he just turns around, looks at this power farm, he should be able to pretty much take it all out. Should not focus on just one building, and he's actually running away. Maybe he decides he wants to get map control instead. I think the power bash would have been worth it. Floyd, on the other hand, does get Gene Stealers, a really ridiculous melee unit, especially when they're under Synapse from the Warriors. And they will, I think they'll kind of bring this fight even, just because the Gene Stealers are ridiculous. Possibly even better than the Corrin Space Marines. Possibly better than Banshees, even though they're not as commonly used. The Zoanthrope gets dangerously... Oh, it dies. Wow, probably just a last-second plasma shot or just a shot from the pistols on those Raptors. Taking it out. And this engagement actually going in Jomanix's flavor. In his flavor. What flavor are your Termagants? In his favor. Some Chaos Worship, making these guys go a lot faster. Chaos Space Marines still here, and they definitely will beat the Ravener Alpha. They even beat the Lictor Alpha with melee upgrades, just because they're so good. He actually should have just kept the... He should have kept the Corrin Space Marines in there. Could have wiped the Ravener Alpha. Probably would have, with only 162 health left. And unfortunately, Jomanix still hasn't gotten a power bash. I think considering he won 2 engagements right in front of Floyd's base, he could have bashed power, even if he just had one of his units bashing power while the rest fought. And this is going to be really bad for the Hormagaunts. Luckily, the retreat path isn't too bad. If Jomanix had gotten those melee units in Floyd's retreat path, he probably could have gotten those Hormagaunts. Not a huge deal, though. Hormagaunts, pretty expendable unit. They don't scale as well or provide the utility of most other Tier 1 melee units. They do a lot of damage, but they're also can be replaced by units like Gene Stealers, which do even more damage and are even more ridiculous in a lot of ways. On Floyd's Ravener Alpha, we did see the Crippling Talon. An enemy struck by these claws have their speed and damage reduced by 40%. Okay, that's actually pretty significant. That could actually prevent the Corrin Space Marines from doing as well as I had thought. Oh, and I thought those Corrin Space Marines were going to get wiped by the Gene Stealers going so fast, and these Gene Stealers, now with that ability of being absolutely ridiculous, doing a ton of damage, and also restoring their health. I feel like this is a moment where Jomanix maybe could have used the Bloodlust to turn the engagement in his favor. As it is, he's going to risk losing a lot of units. Chaos Raptors need to go, really need to go. Even his Heretics need to go. Everything needs to go. He should Doom Blast to suppress and cover the retreat, but other than that, maybe I'm wrong. Jomanix toughs it out and managed to keep three of his squads in play. That means he can get a cap on this contested victory point, then Floyd's natural victory point, and he can even get that power bash, which I keep saying that he should get, but he keeps not getting. In the middle of all of that, Floyd lost another unit. He lost one of his Termagants again. So this heavy melee build from Jomanix. Oh, an Imperial Abyss already! Wow! Did not see that one coming. Not that great of an Abyss, though. I mean, it's impressive just to see it that fast. But it didn't actually do that much. And Imperial Abyss, someone recently on a video was complaining about Imperial Abyss, but it's actually not that great anymore. It was extremely good in retail. It has been nerfed a little bit. No longer pulls back retreating units, and I think it does do a bit less damage. So as we saw from there, we had an Imperial Abyss right in the middle of the Tyranid blob that was not even at full health, did not wipe any squads, came close to wiping one. What that does reveal to Floid that Jomanix is in Tier 3, but so far his main Tier 3 move has been an Imperial Abyss. One of the good things about playing against races like Tyranids and Imperial Guard, who are going to constantly lose models, is that it means you're going to get a lot of red, whether you're playing as them or against them. And that means you can actually do a big-ass nuke like that, which is what Jomanix did. And then Jomanix has 2 Heretic squads, so he's also getting a lot of red from his own bleed. And we have a little lag from here. I don't know why that happened. Anyway, Hormagaunts actually getting... Heretics actually getting shot by the Termagants, which are now going to seek refuge in the cliffside building, an ambient building. And I think, even with the Demon Maul on this Aspiring Champion, I think that's a winning battle for the Gene Stealers. The Gene Stealers eventually decide to get out of there, I think mainly because of the Chaos Lord with the Lightning Claws. I guess that's what Jomanix, why he didn't get the Combi Flamer, but I actually think it's a really good idea to get the Combi Flamer, and then if you really want to get another weapon for the Chaos Lord, just buy another weapon. It does cost more resources, but the Chaos Lord would definitely be a higher level than 3 if he has a Combi Flamer. And this Tyrant card is actually in a little bit of trouble with a power melee squad and the Chaos Lord doing power melee damage. Probably gonna threaten to wipe this Tyrant card, which needs to go into Shield Wall. Destructive Strike knocks over the Gene Stealer Brood. Has lost a lot of models. Actually, only lost 1 model. And oh, the Khorne Space Marine's gonna go down. That would be terrible. Khorne Space Marine's such a good unit, especially good to keep alive. And I don't know why Floid is running away from this Chaos Lord. Oh, because the Chaos Lord is not in retreat. I thought he was in retreat. And if that were the case, then they would have wiped him, but Chaos Lord has Lightning Claws. He also has the Icon of Khorne. That was a kill of the week, getting some of his health back. Icon of Khorne heals him for 1% of his maximum health with each strike. Synergizes well with the Lightning Claws because they have a very high attack rate. And Chaos Lord, level 3, gonna be level 4 in a minute. And this Warrior Brood no way it's gonna get out of here alive. Wow. Just barely gets out of there alive. I think with the Doom Blast from the Heretics, that would have been a dead Warrior Brood. So kind of unfortunately, a missed opportunity for Jomanix. And we have Floid. I was going to say he was floating a ton of resources, but he decides to go to Tier 3. Tyrant Guard in Shield Wall mode does have vehicle armor. So Jomanix, although the Tyrant Guard is going to be very threatened when it is not in Shield Wall, as long as it is in Shield Wall, Jomanix doesn't actually have much to counter it. Now, Jomanix has been doing very well here. I think so far he is winning. He's been winning both on the fights. He's inflicted more losses. In fact, I don't know if Jomanix has lost a squad at all. I don't think he has, although he might be about to lose his Chaos Lord. Floyd has lost several squads. Jomanix is already in Tier 3. The only thing is that right now, the problem with Jomanix's build is that it doesn't really give him much in the way of AV. He doesn't have anything he can really use for emergency AV, especially since he already got the Demon Maul on his Chaos Raptors. That means he will need to get some entirely new unit to deal with AV should Floyd decide to go to get a Carnifex. And, I mean, with a Tyranid player, you can almost always expect them to get a Carnifex, or multiple Carnifexes, or a Carnifex and a Swarm Lord, as long as they can actually make it to Tier 3. Which Floyd is getting to Tier 3 right now. Maybe his first Tier 3 move will be to drop some Tyranid trees, that Tyranna formation, which I personally don't think is that great, but I can still definitely kill things. And the big melee blob from Jomanix, forcing off the Gene Stealers. Jomanix has not used Bloodlust at all, which I guess he's saving up for another Abyss, and he does almost have enough for it. Although Bloodlust is very good because it synergizes extremely well with the melee units, especially with the build that Jomanix has right now. He has Every single squad of his is melee. He literally has no range damage except for the pistols on both his Chaos Space Marines and the Chaos Raptors. Other than that, everyone is fighting with swords and axes. And the Chaos Lord, of course, with his claws. Just eating up, devouring these Termagants. And they will die if they do not retreat. And this will be a dead Termagant squad. Termagant brood, even. And we might even have a quick game here. Floyd only with 15 victory points left. Oh, the Chaos Lord somehow died. I thought he would win against the Tyrant Guard, but not so. Floyd in Tier 3, but I don't know if he'll even last long enough to get a Carnifex out. And now, alright, this... Oh, and we do have a Tyrannoformation. Knocking down some things, but ultimately I feel like it's not doing that a whole lot. Knocks down a few more units. Basically just knocking down units. Gets really close to wiping this Heretic squad, but... I mean, the Imperial Abyss before got closer to wiping a Termagant squad. Floyd really just hanging on to every last hope he has here, but Jomanix has enough for another Imperial Abyss. He could throw it down right in the middle here, right on top of this Tyrant Guard, which might even kill the Tyrant Guard. Probably not as long as it's healing. Floyd does manage to have a 3-cap. He back-capped with his Hormagaunts, which are at level 3, amazingly. But I think Jomanix is probably going to get this victory point back. Now, if Floyd actually does get a Carnifex out, that could actually very legitimately turn the game around, because at least right now, Jomanix does not have any real AV. He is getting a Great Unclean One right now, which obviously it does heavy melee, so it could kind of take on a Carnifex. I don't know which one of those wins directly in a direct fight, but the Carnifex will have less to threaten it aside from just the Great Unclean One. Again, because none of these units do hard AV. I mean, the Khorne Space Marines, the Bloodletters, and maybe even the Chaos Raptors, individually they do soft AV just because they're power melee with... Well, the Chaos Raptors not so much, but the Khorne Space Marines and definitely the Bloodletters will do soft AV, power melee, plasma pistols on the Chaos Space Marines. And Jomanix is kind of doing nothing, which I don't know is such a good idea. He should press his advantage while he has it, because now we have the Carnifex out on the field. I was saying that I don't know if Floyd's even going to last long enough to get a Carnifex, but Jomanix is kind of letting him. I'm guessing what he wants to do is he's waiting for his Great Unclean One. And now we're just watching both players just stand around as the victory points tick down, getting Floyd a lot closer, putting him back in this game, in fact. And we even have buffs from leaving up this Capillary Tower. We're going to have a full health Tyrant Guard. Unfortunately, this is definitely going to put Floyd back in the game, even with only 5 victory points left. He also needs to move these Hormagaunts, either bring them over to the fight, because right now, Floyd really needs to win the game, and he really can't afford to lose much. And Rippers, wow, Rippers actually scouting ahead, which now Floyd knows that Jomanix has a Great Unclean One. And I guess one reason Floyd might be leaving these Hormagaunts here is actually to stall out any units that might come to backcap. Because at this point, even if Floyd starts winning on the fighting, he will lose the game if he gets backcapped. And we just have a big fight right here. I don't know who's going to win. The Carnifex is already like at about 80%, and we have Bloodlust, finally Bloodlust. And that could really turn the fight in Jomanix's favor, just because they'll be doing a ton of damage. They can even realistically threaten that Carnifex, even with their power melee. But we do have and we also have a big stomp going down from Jomanix. Oh, but we also have attempted backcap by Jomanix, but it looks like they're just going to get eaten up by those Hormagaunts. They will get the decap off, but not the cap. And this fight, ultimately, ultimately it looks like it's actually, I don't know who's going to go. It's going to go in favor. It's still going. Jomanix, I think he finally lost one squad, lose his starting Heretic squad, which I wonder what level they were at. All right, Floyd recapturing his not recapturing his natural victory point. He really needs to, though, instead of just idling here. These heroes just slowly walking around, but the Ravener Alpha will probably go down here, and he does from the Chaos Lord. Tyrant Guard goes into shield wall mode, but the Great Unclean One actually does do heavy melee, so he actually will do some damage to him. Jomanix getting this middle victory point back, but he's also getting his natural victory point decapped and then even capped by this Lictor. Elite tier 3 unit, stealthy but very powerful too, does like 90 DPS melee, or even heavy melee, 1250 health, but now really in trouble against getting knocked back twice by Khorne Space Marines, and we do have a Tyrannoformation going down right here. I think might even wipe this Heretic squad. No? No. But it does knock them all around. I think this Lictor still in trouble of dying if it stays in the fight with these Khorne Space Marines. Fortunately, this could put the game. This could be the end of the game for Floid right here, losing this Lictor. I think he really was hoping that they would win against the Khorne Space Marines, but Khorne Space Marines are too good, and Jomanix does pull out the victory right then and there, capturing Floyd's natural and getting that middle, and his Tyrant Guard is just here. Level 3. Gets a lot of health increases from his levels, but can't do anything if he's in shield wall. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Have a good night.